Hi everyone! In this video I'm going to tell my story of how I got into technical pre-sales without a degree in engineering. Someone's individual story is so hard to replicate. Even if you followed my exact step, it would be very hard to have my exact journey. But I hope it gives you some ideas as to how you can get closer to doing that if that's what you want, and how things sometimes end up in a bit of an unexpected way. If I can give one takeaway from this video, would be follow what your interest, and at some point the dots will be joined and they will all come together into one thing that really represents you. So let's start. I would like to go back to my childhood actually. I remember when I was young, so I'm 1993, so I grew up in the era of forums and blogs. So that was when the internet was starting to come together. A lot of people were online and they were doing the first things online. And I just remember being very interested in the world of blogs and also graphic design as well. I was spending a lot of time trying to figure out how to design kind of the templates around the blogs, getting into the world of understanding HTML and CSS, which is a front-end development language. So I remember just spending my first, years when I was a teenager, learning a little bit about HTML and CSS, which I needed basically to build these front-end templates for MSN blogs and things like that. So that was my first dip into development, right, into coding. But again, it was a very easy, I was a teenager, so I was just doing it for fun. So nothing serious came up. Then I remember when I was in high school and university, I was really fascinated by the world of developers. I wasn't a developer myself, but I found it really fascinating, and someone could use their development skills to create something from nothing. I remember I was applying to do a lot of startup competitions, to do a lot of hackathons. And again, I was really not contributing anything because I wasn't a developer. So I was just really there watching, contributing some ideas, and then watching how these developers would develop an app. I remember in 2013, I applied for this program called GSY, Global Startup Youth. Somehow the program was so new that there were not many applications from Italy, and they were trying to select, at least one person from each country. So I got selected, and I was the only Italian person being selected, and I got flown to Malaysia for free for 1 week to do this startup competition where effectively we were in teams of developer, designers, and etc. And we had to create a concept for a mobile app. We had to prototype it, so also develop it or do a small prototype and then present it to an audience of judges. So that was the first time I really saw coding and development in action, and it was great to be able to understand your process. So how do we go from an idea to creating a wireframe, so a very kind of messy sketch that represents the journey of the user? How do you then go to a prototype where it's a little bit closer to the final product, right? The prototype may be a screen of every kind of section of an app. It may be different screenshots connected together representing a software. So the journey from a login to using the software to logging out and doing different types of operations. So that was, the first time I had a real experience. And also when I went back to Italy, I really loved this type of activity. So I was applying to hackathons and working on different types of projects, from Internet of Things to developing chat boxes and things like that. So all of these things I was not developing at all. I was just understanding how things work, maybe dipping my, I was interested in these things, so I may have learned one thing here and there, but it was just about understanding the process. A little ad break. I have created a free resource for all of you that want to join the world of tech. If you're looking to make a move, make a career change, and get into tech, don't forget to download it. I hope it's going to help you get a job. It definitely did help me get a job. I wish I had something like this when I started out. Hopefully I'll see more of you in the tech world. Let's go back to the video. I would say the second time I tried to do something more connected to development was when again, out of my own interest, I decided to apply to a bootcamp for JavaScript. It was just one day, I think it was even free. And it was a full day where some people decided to teach JavaScript to non-developers or developers that had just started. And that was, again, the second time I dipped my foot into development. Again, it was for a day, we had fun, we learned some stuff, and it just ended up there. Then when I finished university, I got this job at BlackRock in London. This is an investment firm, so in finance. I got a job in finance. Don't ask me how, but the job that I got was actually highly technical. So it was an analyst job, so you cannot start from scratch. But the specific team that I ended up with was the most technical team within the bigger team. So what the team was trying to do to build this new business division that created this software that then would be sold to banks and wealth managers to manage people's investments. So imagine you have a financial advisor, they probably are using a software to review your investments, understand how things are going, to make different trades. And this is exactly what we were developing and selling. The team I ended up starting at was developing proof of concepts for clients, and then our sales team would go and pitch. It would also be doing implementation, so actually configuring and implementing the software for our clients. As part of my job, I learned SQL, so database, how to query database. I learned Unix, so the language of the command line. So, you know, this big black screen that you see developers using, that's Unix typically. How to launch commands from the command line, how to debug when things are not going very well. So how do I go into logs of error logs and understand, okay, what has gone wrong in this process, what has happened. I also learned APIs because as part of our software, behind the software, we had APIs, microservices. I learned data exchanges, so different formats for exchanging data, how you transfer data between one system and the other. I learned FTP, APIs, etc. This was when everything started coming together. All the knowledge I had when I was working with developers came really in handy when I started working with developers in my job. All the passion I had for coding helped me learn other languages and other things related to coding much faster. There was one time I remember where we had to do a project in JavaScript, and finally I was like, wow, like I've learned JavaScript. I've done this like 1 day bootcamp course when I learned JavaScript. And so it was a little bit easier to start. I learned a little bit for my own passions, a little bit with the job. And even in the job, to be honest, I was drawn to doing certain things. So I've always really loved understanding technology, I would say, more than actually going and developing it. I was always seeking types of projects where I could work with the product team and understand how a product is developed and understand the mindset of developing a product. I loved working with clients. And so eventually in the last couple of years of working there, I ended up doing much more client work and much more solutioning work where I was talking to clients, understanding their challenges, and then putting everything together of what I knew of the product and the way it was functioning, but also about the limitations of our software. And I was putting it all together and playing back a solution to the client. This is when I started, doing some very technical work. I became very, very technical. This is in my first couple of years. And then I translated this technical knowledge into helping clients, selling solution to clients, working with clients on longer term projects, on longer term solutions. The last couple of years is when I really refined my stakeholder management skills. First couple of years, technical. The second couple of years, it was really client managing, pitching solutions, how to manage different personalities, how to manage big projects. So we were working on huge migration projects from one platform to our platform and understanding the different difficulties in migrating data, how to pull different systems together, and how to create a system architecture where you understand how the different systems are connected together. And then I finally was looking for a new opportunity. I was ready to move on. That's when I started looking into tech. So how exactly did I get into tech? So I was in finance, and I've been working in finance for more than 4 years. I was working in a department that was a tech department within a finance organization. So I had kind of both aspects, but I was not working in the typical tech sector. I would say the Google, the Facebook, the Amazon, the Apple. So how did I make the transition? And most importantly, how did I become a solution engineer? Here, for me, the turning point was talking to people. So I remember I had a couple of friends that actually were working in tech, and I was talking to them about my job. So what I was doing when I was at BlackRock. They told me, look, Eric, I think your job is really similar to this position we have in our team, which is called solution engineer, solutions consultant. And I was like, oh, okay, I've never heard of that. It was already like the third person that was telling me, look, your job, like you would really be good for this type of position. And then I started researching it more, and I understood that actually parts of my job were actually really similar to the job of a solution engineer, even though that's not how my role formally was called. When I did a little bit more research, I understood that was a good position for me. And I also, as I understood how to apply and how to talk about my experience, that's when I understood this is a really good job for me and this is what I want to do in the future. So that's my story of how I got into tech. Going back to the initial lesson is just follow your interest, especially in the first years of your life where you have nothing to lose. You are in years where you're learning, you're exploring, test many things out, do the crazy things, go to the workshops, do different classes in your free time, and really try to explore your interests and your passions, because when you're looking for a job, these are things that are going to guide you in the right direction eventually. I hope this was useful. Let me know if you want me to talk more about these topics, and I will see you in the next video otherwise.